Do you have an idea for a podcast that would be perfect on the Podpire Network? Head over to thepodpirenetwork.com/pitchapod today. That is thepodpirenetwork.com/pitchapod. You could be our next great podcast host. The following podcast is a production of the Podpire Network. Find and listen to our podcasts at thepodpirenetwork.com or wherever you enjoy your podcast. The Podpire Network, a family of inspired podcasts. So, Sibel, as we head out into the new year,
man.
Do you have any New Year resolutions, and do any of these plans, by any chance, involve, creating an imaginary country and selling the idea to a bunch of hungry investors and taking them for all they've
absolutely.
got? Is that on the radar
Definitely.
for you for 2022?
100%.
100%.
I'm thinking something in Polynesia.
Okay. I'm liking this so far.
Yeah, say you found an island that you bought.
Preferably with an active volcano, right? That's always
active volcano. Or recently dormant, so it's really fertile.
Recently dormant volcano?
Recently dormant volcano, really fertile.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you just say that, you've got these wealthy investors and it's got private airport, and I figured that's where we go.
And then you just take it from there.
That's my career plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my career plan.
You just have to make sure this place has, the perfect mix of, beauty and, bloodthirstiness, like kind of like everything around you wants to kill you sort of thing. But, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful, right? Just to make it.
Australia.
Right. I was describing Australia there.
You're describing Australia.
Allegedly.
There are trees and leaves. If you if you hold them, they will give you so much pain you will throw up.
Right.
So
that's
just on the side of the road.
Just right there.
Horrifying.
Okay. So kind of like that. That's what you're thinking for your made up country. Your colony.
I think that's exactly it. Just throw them into a Squid Game of sorts when they get
nice, very nice. Now, any idea what you might call it? Maybe something exotic, something with a little bit of pizzazz, right?
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Belliston.
Say that again now.
Belliston.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The Grand Republic.
Belanesia.
Belanesia. Nice. The Melanesian Republic. Nice.
The
I like it.
Melanesian Republic.
I like it. I like it.
You could buy that.
I would buy that. I would sell off my property and just invest all in 2 feet.
There you go.
Right? Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about an attractive timeshare offer.
Do people still buy timeshares? If they do, I feel like whatever they get is on them at this point, because there's more than enough documentation of why that is just a bad idea. But
I really don't know. I do know there are people with timeshares in places like, say, Disneyland. That seems like a cool idea. They save a ton of money because they never have to book a hotel.
Right.
But it's for people who go
right. I was going to say you have to go enough times every year to make it worth it. Otherwise, what are you doing, man? Yeah. But yes, welcome everyone to the final episode of the year.
Welcome.
Yes. It is another episode of Harebrained Schemes, the podcast where we talk about ill-conceived ventures that are almost always hilarious. And this episode, just to close out the year on a particularly humorous note, we have for you, in case you didn't already, guess from the preceding conversation, as well as the very obvious title of the podcast episode, that we are talking about a certain Gregor MacGregor. You know what, Sibel? I think you can do that better than I ever could. Could you grace us with the Scottish accent there?
I would be honored.
You would be honored. Thank you.
The name's Gregor MacGregor from the Gregor clan.
Gregor MacGregor. General Gregor MacGregor.
General Gregor MacGregor.
From the clan Gregor. Yeah.
From the clan Gregor.
Yeah.
Which, incidentally, was apparently proscripted and banned. Proscripted means that the King of England banned an entire clan and said, you are not allowed to exist. And instead of just killing them all, they weren't allowed to use their last surnames until 17 something. So he was the person we're talking about was one of the first people in his family who ever used his actual last name, but they all gave themselves the first name of Gregor.
Right.
So it's if that wasn't on the nose enough.
Some sort of rebellion there. It's like, okay, all right, you stopped us from using our last name, but, we'll go by Gregor.
It's our first name now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Do you ever wonder what in the world they must have done to have merited this sort of banishment of their entire name, their family name, to the point where they were not allowed to use it for such a long time? Is there anything that you could think of that would be bad enough to get their last name banned, but not quite get them to the, mass extermination point, of those times? Could you think of what that could have been?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I know that his family was Catholic, so I could imagine that there was some sort of friction on the whole Protestant Catholic front happening there.
I'm laughing because you say that, and I was already thinking about the fact that this might have something to do with maybe some girl running off with some boy, and so when you say that just gave me an idea, like, this could be another Sir Walter Raleigh type of thing where yeah.
Maybe. I think because they were Scots,
right,
and they were Catholic. So the Brits were just like, we don't like them at all.
Right.
And we now ban them from our lands. It's very old school if you think about it. Yeah,
your
name and your children's, name is banned from this land. Your children will not have your name.
Right. Right. That is so
it's
crazy.
It's a fate worse than death.
Ugh, jeez. Please spare me. But I'm sure they took these types of things pretty seriously back then. But yes, we are here today to talk about General Gregor MacGregor,
who was born around Christmas.
The Prince of Poyais. Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Was he? What was his birth date?
His birthday was the 24th of December.
24th December, 1786.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So
we're keeping it Christmassy in the house, people.
We're keeping it festive. Nice.
Very festive.
Nice. Okay. So let us, dive into the episode. And of course, let's tell you a little bit about who this guy was. So, Sibel, would you do the honors and tell us a little bit about who Gregor MacGregor was in the beginning?
Baby, I'd be honored. So, I'm going to read directly from the Wikipedia. Gregor MacGregor was born on Christmas Eve 1786 at his family's ancestral home of Glengale on the north shore of Loch Catherine in Stirlingshire, Scotland, the son of Daniel MacGregor, an East India Company sea captain, and his wife Anne. The family was Roman Catholic, and part of the clan Gregor, who we spoke about, had been proscripted, and that was only repealed in 1774. They were legally ostracized. In fun news, Gregor's grandfather was also called Gregor and nicknamed the Beautiful.
Gregor the Beautiful?
Gregor the Beautiful MacGregor, who served in the British Army under the surname of Drummond.
Nice. Nice.
Little is known of MacGregor's childhood, but we believe that he spent a lot of time in Edinburgh and maybe even attended the University of Edinburgh because his mum had some very strong connections there.
Nice. Nice. That was beautifully done, my friend. Well done.
Thank you, Bibi. Thank you so much.
Well done.
I appreciate it.
I was transported immediately to, the Scottish plains and the rolling hills and yeah, I believe I might have even seen the Loch Ness Monster for a second.
There you go.
Pretty good. See? That was pretty good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we're talking about a family that, they had a lot to prove, right? It seemed like, they had their name stricken from the books for over 100 years, right? 1604 to 1774. That is a long time, right?
Yeah.
So they must have had a lot to prove, and they must have had this simmering resentment just under the surface, right? Is like, how dare you? Like, this is our name. They probably had a lot of pride in that name. And it does say that his grandfather, did a lot to serve with distinction in the British Army, and he played quite a bit of a role in getting the clan's name restored, right? And reintegrated into larger society. So this must have been, if you grew up in that family, right? It must have been sort of the extra burden of the people in that family to distinguish themselves and sort of make themselves impossible to ignore. You know what I mean? Like, you want to,
and then being named after the grandfather called the Beautiful.
Right.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the image issues one might have?
Right. So, I don't know about you, but at 16, my friend, I was nowhere near joining any armies or fighting any wars or anything. But it says that, MacGregor joined the British Army at 16. It just tells
which
you,
is the earliest he possibly could.
Right.
He was ready to go. He was rearing.
It just tells you how ambitious the men of this family were, right? Following in granddad's footsteps, right? Serve with distinction, serve with honor, right?
Yeah.
Make your name, make yourself pretty much impossible to ignore, right? So that over time you can make the case successfully for your name to be restored, right? And not just restored, but restored and respected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Reclaim the honor of the MacGregor clan.
Right. So it's great. And I'm going to go over to this article on the Historic UK website. So it's historic-uk.com. And it says, Gregor MacGregor, upon reaching the tender age of 16, joined the British Army just as the outbreak of the Napoleonic Wars loomed on the horizon.
What a time to join.
What a time. Serving in the 57th Foot Regiment, the young MacGregor took all this in his stride. After only a year, he was promoted to lieutenant. So this guy, and it does say that he was from a fighting clan. So, I can imagine that
which is probably how they got their name prescripted.
Exactly. They probably did something, right? But
they fought a little too much.
They fought a little too hard there. Calm down, sir. It's not even that serious. But no, so it did say, from the research that Sibel and I have done that, he was from a fighting clan. So again, this was a guy who probably had the weight of all that expectation on his shoulders, right? And I mean, so by 17, he was a lieutenant, right? That is beyond impressive, right?
It is very impressive. It is also worth noting that, he was promoted to lieutenant, and along the way, he also did what was standard back then, which is you would purchase your promotions.
So before he could do that, though, because he didn't come from money, but what this young man knew he had to do was the same thing that our friend to get some. The same thing that our friend figured he had to do as well. And by friend, I'm referring, of course, to the one and only Lord uh, Timothy Dexter,
Earl Timothy Dexter,
Earl,
Duke,
Lord, whatever,
Lord Earl,
right? So for a lot of men,